Good Monday morning, guys. I'm Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk with Keith Smith. Thank you kindly for joining us. Great to connect with you through the I Love CVille Network out of downtown Charlottesville here in Central Virginia. The show is presented by Yes Realty Partners. In fact, if you look at the screen, you see the brands, the businesses, and the people you can count on to get you to the finish line of buying or selling a piece of property. Thank you kindly for joining us. The viewer and listener, which is you, can join us in the discussion by offering some thoughts, some perspective in the comments section, and I will relay it live on air. Judah Wickower is back in the house. He is our director. Last week on Thursday and Friday, I was the director and the producer. It's a very challenging endeavor. In fact, I directed and produced Real Talk while hosting and Real Talk. And Judah, I want to say thank you for coming back. You were missed. I would not suggest directing, producing, and hosting a show for anyone out there.
Particularly with Smith on the other side.
I mean, you make it easy. Actually, you, of all the folks that come on the shows, that would be the best person to do it with.
Oh, thank you.
Because you have the gift of gab.
Who, me?
And you have a lot of practice broadcasting, although he is a realtor. There you go. And he helps people buy and sell homes. Good morning, my friend.
We need to set that.
You're a realtor. You're a realtor.
That's my day job. This is not my day job.
You're a realtor.
This is my day job. I had somebody bump into it the other day. Going, well, hold it. I thought you just did this talk show. No, I actually buy and sell.
He does a lot of it.
I do a lot. We do a lot of it. We do a fair amount of it. But hey, Judah, welcome back. Do we have the Judah cam set up?
I think we do.
Because there's something that you.
That's okay. We could just show your head.
Yeah.
I think we've reminded him to use the mic before from time to time. But hey, it's his first day back from California. You're missed. He got a little sun.
He's got this California vibe going.
Got a little sun. I know he's so chill now. So chill and laid back. Are you showing anyone?
I have
Look
to
at
tell
that.
you, I do not see any, there's not much tan that you got in a couple of days there.
I mean, you got a little sun.
It was pretty great.
So show off the hairdo.
I think he is. He's on a 3-shot, I believe.
Yeah.
Look at the young cow.
Look.
Judah Wickower, a.k.a. the young cowers. Oh, a little smile from Judah Wickower.
Yeah, you know what?
How about a smile again, Judah Wickower? Come on.
I was walking to get a cup of coffee after that. I was wondering, should I be a Yenta and try to connect him up with somebody? But do you want me to be your Yenta on that? Nah. He's not saying no.
I mean, I've been there.
Got it. You're not suggesting that job.
I've been there. I've been the Yenta before for 12-year colleague Judah Wickower here.
Uh-huh.
First, I want to say props. Welcome back. Mm-hmm. You were missed. Great to have you back in the director's seat. It's nice to have the band together on a Monday morning, gentlemen.
It's a lot of fun. I enjoy the heck out of it. I mean, but you look like you're freaking 20 years younger with that shorter haircut. Well done, sir.
I actually like the longer hair.
Really?
Was that a difficult cut for you over there?
It was a difficult decision.
Yeah, because the long hair had been in place for
years.
Long time.
Yeah.
Over a year.
A long time.
Looks good on you, man.
Yeah, rocking it. All right, Keith Smith, viewers and listeners, ask questions of Keith Smith by putting the comments in the feed.
Today is Stump the Chump Day.
We need to have a piece of content that we're going to mark a sizzle reel here, Judah. So let's start this time for a sizzle reel, the first one on a Monday here of Real Talk. Keith Smith, it's Monday, March 6th. Where do you want to begin, my friend?
Yeah, I tell you what, where I want to start off with is I ran some, in my hot little hands, I ran some quick numbers just in Charlottesville, right? Charlottesville, the first 2 months of 23 versus 2022. So this is everything. This is single family, attached, detached, total sold. So it's real interesting. In single family detached, there was 30% less sold year over year, but the sale price was up 8%. So the bottom line, if you bought a home in Charlottesville this month or January, February of 2022, it is now worth 8% more than it was this time last year. It changes a little bit when we start getting to attached product and condos. Attached product, believe it or not, you were up. You actually picked up 31% of it. On it was $69K if you bought in 2022 and sold in 2023, or you had it now. Condos are flat, but it's just the number of units are down. We've been talking about that for a while. We're about 30% down on single family detached for the same 2 months. We're 50% down on attached product for the same 2 months, and we're also 50% down on condos as far as number of units sold. But, single-family detached, you're up 8%. So it's not interest rates. It's a lack of inventory, and that's kind of what's driving the prices up.
First sizzle reel right there. Judah Wickauer. Inventory, a major concern.
Yeah, but we've been talking about that for how long? As long as his hair's been long.
It used to be a bad word.
Yeah, at one point in time.
Now we couldn't get around it.
You can't, we tried to ban it. It just came back.
Couldn't ban it.
It's kind of like the third Godfather, right? Which was a horrible movie, and there's a scene in it.
Bad.
It was a horrible movie. It was a freaking horrible movie. But there was one part of it when they pull him back in when he's trying to get out. When I thought I was out, they bring me back in. When we thought inventory was going to be over, it's back in again. But it's not going. The inventory is just not climbing, guys, and there's just way too many buyers in the buyer pools, and there's buyers in the buyer pool that are willing to buy at pretty much not any price, but willing to buy that have the capability to do it at an elevated price and elevated 30-year fixed. We lost 2 deals this weekend, cash offers, while we were up in D.C. One was to another cash offer. The other cash offer was to a financed offer. And our buyers felt that the price that we capped out was our price point. So those sold for more than we were at. Plus, it was a finance project.
And you were above ask?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm looking at property in Richmond. We're over for my daughter and son-in-law. We're over 6 figures.
Six figures over ask.
Over ask, yeah. That's part of what we did when we came into Richmond. We went and looked. We drove in to take a look at a house that had an open house for 1 hour and had 150 people go through it. There's just not enough inventory, and we can talk about it till we're blue in the face on why and how we can fix it. But right now, there are a bunch of buyers in the market ready to buy. If you're ready to sell, now's the time to do it. You're probably going to get the most now for your home than you probably could ever get. Micro markets matter, right, Jerry? Right? So, if you're not in the right location, that could impact it. But at the moment, if you're in the right location, this is the right time to do it.
Keith Smith, guys. Real Talk with Keith Smith, presented by Yes Realty Partners. Interesting comment here by the mayor of Waynesboro, Kevin Yancey, who from time to time has some bearish tendencies.
Sure.
He says, please advise on where people should gauge the market. One day it's doom and gloom. Next day it's rainbows and puppies. And then the following day it's doom and gloom all over again.
So are we talking the real estate market, or are we talking the market on that big board over there?
I think he's talking real estate. Now, what you should probably drill down into is macro versus micro. And Central Virginia's market is on fire.
Yeah, so the whole macro county, the state is on fire. But, micro markets matter. So, certain locations are a little flat, and certain locations are just rocking and rolling. I think if you listen to what we've been talking about for a while, I don't know if we've been talking doom and gloom. I guess it depends on what side of the pendulum you're on.
The only way if it's doom and gloom is if you're a first-time home buyer. That's the only spot you're in a doom and gloom in.
I'm going to make it even more detailed.
Okay.
It's difficult for you if you're a first-time home buyer and you don't have the fiscal ability to compete.
Yeah, well,
right?
That's most first-time home buyers.
I can tell you, we're having first-time home buyers that are capable of compete.
Straight up cash.
No, in the financing, they're able to accelerate the asking price. They're able to finance at 6 3/4 and 7% on that end of it. They're ready, willing, and able to do that. And these people will win. They'll win. They'll lose a couple here, but eventually they'll win. It's the buyer who can't to do that. That's the one that's stuck. The one that can't absorb a 7% mortgage rate, can't or unwilling or unable to go X percentage over list price, or unwilling or unable. We're seeing concessions again. We're seeing appraisal waivers in. That's all resurfacing itself.
So you're making a legitimate argument that this is the best time
To sell,
to sell a piece of real estate
if it's in the right location.
in the history that you've been in real estate.
Well, it's really not fair. I have a hard time remembering what I did 10 minutes
You've
ago.
been in real estate since 1987. Okay, how about I'll be a more refined, I'll ask that question in a different way. Is this the best time to sell a house even compared to peak COVID when houses were flying? This is a more opportune time for sellers than peak COVID to sell a house? That's what you're saying right now.
That's a great question. I would say yes, only because only because
There's less inventory.
there's less inventory, right? But I want to put a caveat. Is that the right word? Quotes around that. I would say this time last year, or 12, 16, 18, 24 months ago, the where really didn't matter, right? Everything was flying off the shelf. The where matters now, right? Where is your where? Where matters, right? On that end of it. And actually, I did some penning on some HOA valuations that I want to talk about a little bit today if we can do it. But the where is going to matter. So certain areas, certain neighborhoods, certain type of areas are probably not going to do as well as others. And this is why you need a trusted advisor and somebody on our list of Real Talk with Keith Smith partners to help you through navigating the market. It's also why I constantly say I'm more excited. I think this says it, but I'm more excited about real estate now than I've been in years. Really am. And I'm really excited about helping people sell, helping people buy. Because you need skills. You need to know how to negotiate. You need to know how to walk through some of these concessions, depending on which side of the fence you're sitting on.
Does Neil Williamson, President of Free Enterprise Forum, are the listing prices too low? Is that what's happening here?
That's a great question, Neil. So this is live, right?
This is live. This is live.
I literally had that discussion live. Hold on a second. Let me double check. Yeah, I'm good. I'm live.
It's live.
Live. Here's what's happening. The market, I think, is moving so fast that if you don't dial into the numbers, and one of the blessings about doing this show is I got up at 3:30 this morning, work on numbers, right? To make sure I understood what the heck I was talking about. I think if you look at something now and you're basing it on a 60, 90-day, what happened back then, you're probably too low. Again, assuming you're in the right location, right features, right conditions, right? The timing is what we talk about all the time. But I had this conversation with the listing agent of the house in Richmond that we put an offer in early this morning on, which we're not going to get, because we just can't go as high as where the market's going to go. And I asked that very question. I said, hold the time out. If you know you're going to get numbers above list price, why did you start there? And she sent me the data. And her number was right, based on what happened 60, 90, 120 days ago. Last 2 to 4 weeks, tempo is just picking up like crazy. And we've been talking about that, right? If I can go and look in pending right now.
How many actives do you have on the market right now? Vanessa Parkhill, hello. Johnny Ornelas, hello.
77, 81 pending, 7 days back.
So we're going the wrong way.
Yeah, but that's awfully close. A little while ago, it was
really the wrong way.
It was really the wrong way. It's
still worse.
Is there a
the
such
viewers and listeners.
Is there a such thing as
there's wrong ways, and then there's really the wrong way.
Wrong
yeah.
way. Does that even make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. That's not even Keith. That's normal talk there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's wrong ways, and then there's the really wrong way. Where like your trip took 2 hours longer. The wrong way would be like 15 minutes longer. It's like me trying to go to Long Island, and then I get lost in the Beltway.
or even worse, you go over to GWB and make a right-hand turn and end up in Harlem.
I've done that.
I know that.
I've done that.
That
That's
is-
an easy mistake to make.
That is, if you've never done that and you don't know
because that's a quick turn.
if you don't know the right lane,
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're going towards Midtown Manhattan.
Yeah.
And now you got to figure out how to get across Manhattan.
I've
back
made that
up.
mistake a couple
Oh
times.
yeah. And then the New Yorker comes in me, and matter of fact, I was just driving up in DC and I loved it.
Well, because if you're relying on Waze or Google Maps there, oftentimes there's a lag on the quick turns. And by the time the Waze or the Google Map registers that you should take a turn, you've already passed the turn.
So the 81 that went pending.
Yeah.
We got a medium days on market of 8, and I'm just looking at the triple digit numbers that went pending. There's 1, 2, 3. There's about 12 of the 81 that were over triple digits that went pending. And as we're doing this, we're watching these triple digits drop to double digits. But we're at a median of 8. Our average is 41, right? So that's the average of everything. Median kicks out the high and low. And, if we're nowhere near what I think 60 is a balanced days on market. That's my personal opinion on that end of it. Some people might say 90. There's different opinions on it. But, I think if you want to sell a house now's time to do it. I think if you wanted to buy a house and be competitive, that was about 2 months ago.
This may be a better content than the first sizzle reel we created. So I want you to mark this area here. I want you to answer this question here and start formulating your ideas because I have to keep you on track over
So
here.
you want me to think, huh?
I want you to think. I want you to say...
Show's over. Hey,
I
Judah,
want
how
you to explain to everyone why this is maybe the best time to sell a house in the 35 roughly years that you've been in real estate.
Yeah, I don't think I would go that far back because I honestly can't remember that far back.
Okay, how about is this the best time to sell a house in the last 20 years? That's what I would. So Keith Smith,
Yeah.
Yes Realty Partners, is this the best time to sell a house maybe in the last 2 decades right now?
I think so, yes, I really do. I mean,
Tell us why.
But it's because it's the economy. Maybe we don't want to put this in the sizzle reel, but it's economy, stupid.
Yeah, okay, we got to start the. He's getting distracted. This is the problem with highlighting the fact that there's sizzle reels.
Yeah, because you can't.
He puts too much pressure on himself.
Then I start thinking.
Yeah, then he's okay. Keith Smith, as we create a highlight clip from this show, the viewers and listeners appreciate this. Are you ready to mark this time now, Gia? Keith, do you think this is the best time to sell a house in the last 20 years of real estate?
I'm going to say yes, and it's purely from a lack of inventory. I'm going to repeat myself what I said earlier, but it's going to be a lack of inventory. There's just nothing to buy, and there's plenty of buyers in the market. We talk about the millennials all the time. They're coming into the market. Boomers are in the market. There's plenty of buyers in the buyer pool that are able to buy and ready, willing, and able to buy. So instead of having 15 people bid on your home, if it's in the right price, right location, right features, right condition, it may be 6. Right? You're still having people bid against your piece of property. If it is not in the right location and the right features and condition, then that's when we need to talk about and set expectations. But if you're checking all those boxes, I can't think of a better time to sell. My God, we're at 8 days. I was looking at Lake Monticello from 2017. It was in the 50 to 60 day days on market. We're at 8 days, and that was 2017. It's a lack of inventory. It's Econ 101, supply and demand. The pool of buyers is way up here, and the supply is way down there. And if you've got supply and you're ready to sell, now's the time to do it.
Keith Smith did so well.
Did I do good?
Keith Smith did so well. That's the clip right there.
I hate it when you tell.
The number clip was very difficult to understand. That one was very digestible right there. That's the clip to use. Jason Howard, the king of Rio Road.
My mouth was moving, so maybe it might have been difficult.
We got to keep that database going of nicknames. Jason Howard's the king of Rio Road. He says the Fed has indicated it will continue to raise rates. While this doesn't directly affect mortgage rates, the one being raised usually leads to the other. Is there a rate on the 30 where it slows the movement of the housing stock? 9%, 10%? What's that number? The 30-year fixed is over 7% right now. And Jason Howard's exactly right. while the Fed raising
can tell you
rates
7
does
is-
not directly impact the 30-year fix, it does influence it.
So
what the Fed raising rates does impact the buyer is his or her purchasing power. And if people have floating debt, the raising of rates does not help folks with debt management. Your thoughts on this topic?
So the buyer that's out in the buyer pool right now that have been managing their credit card debt, right, have been managing all their fiscal health over the last 12, 24, 36 months, whatever it might be, and they are in the position to buy. Look, nobody's got a crystal. We actually have crystal balls, but at the moment we don't have the crystal ball on the table with the crystal ball camera.
We have the crystal ball camera.
We actually should put that up there.
Yeah.
Look, nobody really knows if we're going to go to 8 or 10%. I bought my house at 18%, so people will buy. What'll happen is the buyer pool will drop. That is, as interest rates go up, it'll carve off certain amount of buyers, whatever that amount is. God only knows what it is, right? And it will increase the inventory a little bit, but we have to go so far to get to that balance of it that we'll see it coming long before it does.
Michael Plecker watching the program,
Hey,
one of the
Michael
Shenandoah Valley's finest backstops.
That's a pretty good catcher.
A catcher from the New York Mets organization.
And a pretty darn good broadcaster, though.
The king of Fontana, the mayor of Pantops, Mr. Michael Plecker himself. He says 2023 is the best time to sell a home in my lifetime for 2 reasons. Yeah. No competition and the accelerated rate of appreciation. 2003 through 2003 through 2007 was the best, but only because it was a buyer frenzy. The seller's market still had a lot of competition.
In Charlottesville.
Good job, Michael Plecker.
In Charlottesville, if you bought in January, February 2022, your home is now worth 8% more than it was when you bought it in 2020. In 1 year, it's went up 8%. That is above norm. It's usually about 5%. My 21-year spreadsheet is saying about 5.5%, somewhere in there. So you're beating the odds in your appreciation, and he's 100% right. But there are a ton of buyers out there that the interest rate doesn't scare them. They'll just put more cash down because they've been saving cash, right? And they'll just play the math game, right? So that their monthly payment is X. And if they got to put more cash down, they'll put more cash down and make up the difference. Or you get a 2-1 buy down. But, all these all this, that's a wrong choice of words, all these creative ways.
Sophisticated.
This 2-1 buy downs, all this different stuff goes out the window, Jerry, the moment there's multiple offers. Right? Just goes right out the window. So you're either having to buy down your rate on your own, you're either going to have to bring cash to the table, finance a little bit less, do a little bit of math on it. They got these things at cold calculators.
Yes, they do.
And do them.
You don't even need a TI-82 anymore.
Huh? I think you actually can use this as a phone, too.
Yancey says, so what's the ceiling? What's the valuation ceiling?
Yeah.
Does it hit a cap?
Of course it depends on what you define as a cap and a violation ceiling, right?
Keith Smith, can I tell you something?
Nobody really knows.
Bought my house in March of 2020 as the world was ending. Literally the first 2 weeks of COVID.
And we predicted the world wasn't going to end.
First 2.5 weeks of COVID. The home has appreciated nearly 40%.
Yeah, sure.
This is
good for you.
Almost unnerving. This cannot continue.
Yeah.
This cannot continue.
So as long as it doesn't go backwards, you got 40%.
So your prediction is moving forward, just marginal incremental increases as opposed to double-digit appreciation.
I've been predicting that for a while. I think you're going to see the normal 3 to 6% until I looked at this morning at 8%. And that's just 2 months. Snapshot in that end of it. It's 31% if you had a single family attached in the city of Charlottesville. Now,
This was exactly what Jason Howard just said.
Yeah,
Mine's up 40% since March 2020, Jason Howard.
Yeah.
Here, his is in the urban ring. He's the king of Rio.
Yeah.
Jason Howard. He says, our house in the urban ring, just outside Charlottesville, we bought it 10 years ago. Assessed value went up 41% in the last 2 years. I'm seeing what the neighbors sell for, and they're buying stuff for twice what we paid. Jason Howard, I know a realtor. He's sitting across from me. His name is Keith Smith. It sounds like you're sitting on stacks of paper, and now's a great time to sell your house. I hear you help people buy and sell
it's amazing.
homes.
Who knew that?
I hear you do that.
My house.
Congratulations, Jason.
My house was $300,000 20 years ago. It's worth over $500 now. Oh no, by the way, my 300 is zero, right? So I've been in the house for 20 years. I'm going to walk. If Mrs. Smith has her way, not that she gets mad at me when I share our personal numbers and stuff. But at the end of the day, that's what happens. It's the long game. That's why you build generational wealth. That's why I work so hard on the land trust to help folks get into that game and start building generational wealth instead of paying, the landlord, help him pay off or her pay off their mortgage. But right now, man, Actually, I would think about a month ago, 2 to 3 weeks ago, was the perfect time to get into the market, into the sales side of things. It's only going to get better. That buyer pool is just not going away. It might. I use the analogy of it's the 10-foot meter, the Olympic diving end of the pool. It's 20 feet deep. We might, if the interest rates go up, we might get to 16 feet, 15 feet. People will carve off of it. But unless you get that shallow side of the pool up to that 12 feet, which is my inventory, we're just not going to balance out. There's always going to be a little bit more buyers than there is inventory until we get some sort of balance. Here's the caveat, though, where I cannot state this more clearly.
Okay, so where's not selling then? Micro markets matter. Which markets are not selling?
Well, it's probably on the further end of the rubber band at the moment, right? That we talk about. They're outside of it. But we just did a deal in Nelson County that was on the market for almost 200 days. Ended up getting a contract in on it. Worked out really great for a young couple on that end of it. I got phone calls from the agent on the other side. Said, you wouldn't believe this. As soon as I put it into pending, I got like 16 showing requests because somebody didn't check if it was pending or active. So things that are out in the, let's say, the periphery of the market that's been on the market for a little while, and if it's priced right, those are even starting to get activity. We're in this up tempo spring market. And the coffee's kicking in.
I can see that. Johnny Ornalis, oye, que pasa, amigo?
I'm just trying to hang with you, buddy.
Johnny Ornalis watching the program. We love when J.O. watches the show.
Hey, save me, Johnny, save me.
Viewers and listeners, what do you think? I mean, here's an interesting comment from the mayor of McIntyre. The mayor of McIntyre says, appreciation without equalization is bad governance. Yes, I want my property to increase.
So we're back on taxes.
Yes, I want my property to increase, but no, I don't want to give my spendthrift government more money.
Yeah, well, that's a whole tax conversation. As you're, but to that point, as these values go up, as your home you bought in January 2022 is now up 8%, your tax is going to go up because your valuation is going up. It's just going to step up.
Mayor of McIntyre, in the words of the late, great Benjamin Franklin, nothing is certain in life.
But death and taxes.
Death
and taxes.
And taxes. Mayor of McIntyre.
Unless you got a really good tax attorney, but anyway.
The show's been riding on a high note for 33 minutes.
Oh.
It's been absolutely fantastic. I hate to dampen the high note. But Neil, you saw this over the weekend. James Watson, you saw this over the weekend. Jason Howard, Kevin Yancey, Bill McChesney, Johnny Ornalis, MJ Arquette, Vanessa Parkhill, 5 real estate firms on the feed as we speak. John Blair watching the program.
Hey, John.
Another murder.
Yeah.
Another murder in the middle of the day.
That actually made the news in D.C.
Absolute daytime. Sunshine Convenience Store.
Yep.
Cherry Avenue, Fifeville, yet again the scene. We're obviously seeing the violence contained to pockets in this community. Fifeville, Cherry one, 10th and Page another. We're starting to see emerging pockets in this Timberlake, Timberland, whatever the exact name is, and I'll give it to you because words matter, but in the urban ring. The police tracked one of the men involved in the weekend murder to an apartment complex tied to AMI and affordability across from the Albemarle County Police Station. I got to start there.
And the gentleman that was murdered was out of Gordonsville.
From Gordonsville.
I mean,
A
first,
17-year-old also in UVA Medical Center with a gunshot wound from this incident. He's being charged with some serious crimes right now, this 17-year-old.
so that tells me I haven't had a chance.
Second-degree murder and use of a firearm and a commission of a felon.
At the age of 17.
At the age of 17.
Yeah. So we have
20-year-old Gordonsville resident. This is the second Gordonsville resident to be murdered in the city of Charlottesville. And
Well, clearly
a week and change.
Clearly he had a weapon because otherwise a 17-year-old wouldn't have.
Oh, yeah.
Been.
One guy at a convenience store, two walk in.
Yeah.
Previous brouhaha leads to OK Corral. OK Corral leads to one man dead, one man on the lam heading to the urban ring to Albemarle County on the lam, and then the third man stumbling into the UVA Medical Center with gunshot wounds. The third man, 17, facing multiple charges, including a second-degree murder charge and the use of a firearm and the commission of a felony. This kid's 17. Anywhere you want to go.
Well, it's just first and foremost, I mean, just my heart wrenches. There's one young man dead, a young man that if he survives, his rest of his life is over. He's going to go to prison. And then this other gentleman, depending on what he gets charged to, is probably going to spend a long time behind bars. So first and foremost, that there's something wrong there, why this is happening. It's why I did the numbers this morning, Jerry, because I'm assuming this was going to come up today in our conversation. I wanted to take a look at, has the last 2 months versus the 2 months in the last year, because has it impacted sales at all? And it really hasn't. I know that's going to be a question that's going to pop up. Is this impacting the real estate value, because this is a real estate show after all, in the city of Charlottesville? Today, the numbers aren't showing that.
Well,
It might be different.
it's important to caveat this. The numbers you're showing are across the entire car footprint.
No. This is just the city of Charlottesville.
Okay, city of Charlottesville, across the entire city of Charlottesville.
Correct. So
I want to start seeing numbers specifically for 10th and Page and Fifeville.
And that's funny. I was thinking of that this morning. I was doing that, and I just ran out of time to go ahead and crunch numbers on that. And we'll keep
Because North Downtown, Belmont, Greenbrier,
Yeah.
Rugby, you guys are going to crush it no matter what. I want to see 10th and Page and Fifeville.
Yeah, so it's very hard because we're going to have to pick certain streets because these neighborhoods are really not defined neighborhoods. It's not like Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, which is a very defined neighborhood that's hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of. There's more people in one neighborhood in Brooklyn than there is in our whole region, right? By many times over, on that end of it. So we're gonna have to play around with exactly a geographic search on that. And I again was thinking about this morning, knowing that this was going to come up and how I was going to respond to this on this question. I think what's going to happen.
Well, the car's got to have. What's the My Car MAC?
Yeah, but it's.
They've got to have a 10th and Page or Fifeville search filter.
You can, but the thing is you got to take a deeper dive into it. What exact streets they're doing? So what they call.
This happened on the main drag of Fifeville, Cherry Avenue.
I understand that, but if you put 10th and Page in there, what Carr's definition of 10th and Page and I don't know this for a fact, and what the city's definition of 10th and Page may be two different things.
That's fair.
Right.
That's fair.
So
10th and Page and Fifeville are all filtered search criteria on the CAR website.
And
I'm on the CAR website now.
I don't understand it, but you have to take a look at drill down into the numbers, into the area, and find out exactly what they're calling those streets in those areas versus the areas we're talking about. And there may be a difference. But in general terms, if these particular regions or these particular neighborhoods or streets or blocks, right, continue, what's going to happen is outside of that rubber band, outside of that area, it's just only going to go up in value because buyers just aren't going to go there. Again, location matters, micro markets matter, right? I'm just looking at a big throw up of the city of Charlottesville, which is only 10 square miles, right? At the moment, it hasn't impacted it because most of these contracts I'm looking at were written somewhere late December, January, that closed in January or in February. So we'll have to keep a track on it. I mean, I can't magically pull it up and do it live. It's just a little difficult to do that. And we have to together decide what we're calling these areas on it, define them, and then we can surely set up searches and track them on a week by week, month by month, day by day basis.
So no, and we'll get to comments. This is resonating.
Of course.
No fears this influences anything else, valuation-wise.
No.
No, none at all. None at all.
Fears.
I mean, this is what Jason Howard's saying.
Let me answer the question first. Fear is a strong word. What it's going to do is if it continues in these certain areas, it's just going to push the buyers that were thinking at those areas back out into Belmont or into these other areas that are adjacent to it that don't have whatever struggle that these particular regions are having or streets have.
Kevin Yancey, you're 100% right. 10th and Page is adjacent to one of the largest UVA student rental markets.
Sure.
100% correct on that. I lived in that rental market for 2 years while as a student and then post-time after UVA. I mentioned this. This is a good comment here from Mr. Howard. I feel the same way, Mr. Howard, Jason Howard. Multiple shootings per week is not a great selling point for getting people who live outside the city to come in and patronize city businesses. At what point does the news trending this way week after week start affecting small businesses? You have to go to the hospital or the grocery store at some point. You don't have to go to a restaurant or other small shop in town. You choose to shop in places like that.
So these
It impacted my wife and her friends last weekend when she had a girls' weekend and two out-of-town friends, one from Queens and the other one from outside where Villanova University is. They came and visited my wife for a long weekend, and they made sure to arrive back home, and this was their own intuition, to be home before 9:30 each night. They went out. Never before has she ever done anything like that, but that was out of safety concerns. And that's 3 females in their mid-30s with some disposable income and spending power that chose to bring the party home as opposed to keeping it out closer and closer to last call. How about this one from Heather? To say that these murders and this crime is not going to impact these neighborhoods, I think is short-sighted. Anyone with kids would be hesitant to have their children playing around their homes at any time of day, especially considering this violence is happening in daytime hours. I would not allow my husband to move us to these neighborhoods.
So it will impact these neighborhoods. That's the point I'm making. It will impact these neighborhoods, and the buyer who is thinking about buying into 10th and Page is going to buy elsewhere, still within the city, I think. I mean, the numbers are proving that, still within the city. But what that's going to do is put more pressure on a tight inventory also. Back to, is it time to sell? Absolutely. Is it time to sell in 10th and Page? Maybe not.
No.
Is it time to sell outside of Cherry Avenue? Maybe it is. Maybe it's time to sell, but is it time to sell from a market perspective?
Monetary standpoint.
Monetary? No.
Yeah.
But I'm just looking at 10th and Page as you were talking. I've got 0 on the market, and I've got 30, hold on a second, 0 on the market, 0 pending, and I got to take a look at solds. I got to break that down a little bit different on that. So I'll have
Kate Schartz, who's watching the program, she's the queen of Ivy, and Kate would make a fantastic realtor.
I'm sure.
And that's something that she's brainstormed before. Kate says this, and Kate, my family feels similar here. Our favorite ice cream shop is right down the street from the Mini Mart on Cherry Avenue. She told her husband we'd have to stay away for a while from this ice cream shop.
So 10th and Page, I've got nothing active. Again, I have to I don't know how Carr's defining 10th and Page. So we're just using what Carr's defining as 10th and Page as an area.
I have it active, okay.
0 active, 0 pending, last 6 months, only 2 sold.
And if you look at Fifeville, I'm queuing up Fifeville. Fifeville, for those that don't know, the neighborhood around Cherry Avenue. I'm on the mycar, mycaar.com website. I'm using the search criteria Fifeville. You look at a home, there's only one on the market in Fifeville. It's on Knoll Street, 719 Knoll Street. I know this street well. 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, less than 1,600 square feet, a postage stamp for a lot, 0.13, asking price $575,000, Keith Smith, on the market for not that long.
So back to my comment where it's going to go. Belmont has 4 homes active.
This Knoll Street listing is adorable, by the way.
2 are in pending. Last 6 months, hold on a second, looks like over 20 have closed or sold.
I had this conversation with John Blair on Twitter yesterday. John, are you still watching? And John made this comment, and he had a lot of truth to it. He goes, as long as the labor market is expanding with jobs associated with the UVA ecosystem, science, technology, engineering, math, data science jobs coming here, and as long as inventory continues to be pinched, potential buyers will see beyond the crime because they want to purchase a house.
They will. They're just going to go to Belmont.
He even thinks they'll see beyond the crime and still purchase in Fifeville
Well,
and 10th
you know,
Page.
so that philosophy is that the tidal wave of buyers, that 20 feet
It's so deep.
is so, well, it's so, if you ever go up against the rough seas, rough waves, right at the beach, little waves you can handle. As the waves get bigger, you can't handle. So maybe his thinking is maybe the buyer pool is so huge, it doesn't matter.
I think that's kind of what he's saying.
But it's hard, I'm a grandfather. I got 3 little gorgeous kids. Grandkids, would I walk up and down holding the hand on Cherry Avenue right now with my little granddaughter, my 2-year-old and my one that's now 2 months old? I'd probably walk a different way. In fact, I know I'd walk a different way.
You would do it by yourself.
If I was by myself, I'd do it.
Yeah, because I know for a fact you would do it by
I would
yourself.
do it by myself, which
Yeah.
reminds me of my story over there, which I won't tell, which is off color, of that, but when I was propositioned.
Yeah,
down
right.
Cherry Avenue.
You would do it by yourself. You just wouldn't do it when it's someone else that you're responsible for,
So is that-
specifically a child.
So is that now a definition of a changing neighborhood?
That's a great question. Here's another question for you. The
And I don't like the word neighborhood because it's really not a neighborhood.
10th Page is a neighborhood.
I get that, but in my mind, a neighborhood is much bigger than that. This is a very limited.
10th Page is, see, I think
It's not tens of thousands because we only got 50,000 rooftops. So it's not tens upon tens of
I would
thousands.
say 10th Page is a couple hundred homes easily.
Yeah, but you have to look at that ratio as
How many homes are in 10th Page, James Watson? What do you think? Neil Williamson, how many homes?
Yeah.
Kevin Yancey.
You have to define 10th and Page first and then figure out the numbers, the geographic location of 10th and Page. But whatever the number is, that's exactly what's going to happen. 10th and Page, Cherry Avenue. And it's a real bummer because, look, I can tell you right now I know it's impacting. I've got a Swiss client that has a piece of property on 7.5 and Cherry that he was going to build 12 apartment unit complex on there that would have been a little bit upper end because he was going to build it with concrete and very, very European style. He just put it on hold. So there's 12 units that are not going to come now because of this. Literally, that was the phone call at 3:30 this morning that I had. because it's 6 hours later
Yeah.
in Europe.
Well, and you're up at that time, and he knows that. Lisa Costello, my son and I live on Cherry Avenue, on the other end towards Cherry and Shamrock Johnson Elementary School. That part of Cherry is completely residential.
So 100% right. Once you get on the other side of the school and the other side
The
of...
JPA side.
No, I think we might be talking about where you get from the corner all the way up. It's very residential.
Once you get on the other side of Cherry, like other side of Roosevelt Brown,
Yeah.
the other side of the UVA hospital on Cherry,
So we're really...
you're talking $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 homes.
So that's to my point. The geographic area is pretty tight on that. And it's just going to move outside of that. What was going to happen in this geographic area is just not going to happen. And, I think I thought of this while you were talking. You know who I want to ask this question of?
Who?
Not me. Keith Woodward.
Well, he owns much of Fifeville.
What are you thinking, Keith? Are you like, well, time out, I'm not doing anything now, or are you all in? So if he's still all in and he still wants to develop that IGA property, there's another parcel. There's two more parcels on Cherry Avenue. One's a parking lot that UVA was using as a material storage when they were redoing the hospital. That's in the mix of potential development. There's one across the street that's in the mix for potential development. It's not on the market yet, but I know that they're out doing that. So the question is, these folks or these companies that are holding that, what are you guys going to do? If they're all in developing that, maybe our good friend in Stanton
Johnny Blair,
is
JV.
is right.
King of content.
So follow the money, right? So if the money comes in there and start doing it, they're not worried about it, then I think he might be right.
Neil Williamson has shared a map that characterizes or depicts 10th and Page from a geographical standpoint. 10th and Page is 0.190 square miles. 0.19 square miles. The population of the 10th and Page neighborhood is 1,708 people. 10th and Page, 1,708 people. Of that 1,700 plus people, according to citydata.com, city-data.com, 52.3% of the neighborhood is African American, 32.2% of the neighborhood is white, 8.5% of the neighborhood is Asian. This is fantastic data.
I wonder what those numbers were in 17 and 15 or 15 pre-pandemic.
That's a 17 pre-pandemic from a socioeconomic standpoint.
Exactly right.
The better question is, and I don't mean better. I apologize for saying better. Different question would be.
There's such a thing as a better question.
No. Different question would be. I would curious to see how the neighborhood changed pre and post dairy market.
Yeah, I think
I think dairy market, and I love dairy market. I love Chris Henry. You know I love Chris Henry.
Yeah.
I think that project very much changed the characteristics of 10th and Page.
So let's not specify projects or pandemic. Let's say, what was the numbers 5 years ago? Right, just pick a date.
Okay, yeah, 5 years ago.
Back on that end of it. And that would have been
5 years ago, 10th and Page was not as wealthy from a household income standpoint.
How many acres was that? I didn't get a chance to write it down.
Let's see here. I got it right here. 1,700 plus people in 10th and Page.
I got that.
0.190 square miles. I mean, you're talking nearly 2,000 people here. This is a pretty 2,000 people in a city that has 50,000 people. I mean, you're talking. I
wonder how many. I'm just thinking out loud.
4% of the city living in 10th and Page.
I wonder how many students are in that.
This particular part of 10th and Page where he's got this map is not the student housing portion.
Got it. Well, I'm at a disadvantage. I'm not seeing what you're looking at, but yeah. So again, I'll take a look at that later on. Find out what Neil is suggesting that area, and we can keep on tracking those numbers.
Lonnie Murray has a question for you. Lonnie Murray, who we've dubbed the king of the environment, speaking solely for Lonnie Murray, the person, and no one else.
The person.
Lonnie Murray, the person, and no one else. I love you, Lonnie Murray, the king of the environment.
The person.
Well, I mean, he's a planning commissioner.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
He's speaking strictly as
He's
a
speaking.
citizen.
He's speaking
As a citizen.
As a citizen.
Yeah.
There you go.
I try to emphasize that.
I was thinking. I think he's a person.
He's an Albemarle County Planning Commission.
Yeah.
But he's only speaking as Lonnie
He's
Murray,
taking
the
his-
citizen.
He's taking his commissioner hat off and
Yeah.
speaking as a citizen.
And I try to highlight that. I love when he comments. He wonders about the homicide rate. He says, does the Charlottesville homicide rate, how does it compare to the 80s or 1950s? It's hard to find historical data.
That's a great question.
That is a great question.
Because when I was looking at the numbers this morning, again, anticipating this was going to come up today, I couldn't find any data.
I couldn't find any data.
Homicide
It's very
today.
difficult to find that data.
Yeah. So, and you know, it's interesting. I can tell you when we first moved here in '87, that the downtown mall was
Sketchy.
well.
When I moved here in 2000, the downtown mall was sketchy. My buddies and I, Connecticut Dave, Rhode Island Tom, and Shannon from...
Come on, you could do it. Pick something.
Shannon from the 757.
Pick something. Make it up. Make it up.
The four of us took our fake New Jersey IDs,
We'll call it Shannon from Ireland.
which
How's that
we
sound?
made in the comforts of 101 Dabney, old dorms, UVA, and we took these fake New Jersey IDs, which we made with printing paper and laminate material that we purchased online, to Miller's on the downtown mall to see Agents of Good Roots play a set. It was two of the members of Agents of Good Roots. We walked in the fall of 2000 on a chilly night. The wind was blowing through my jacket. I wasn't dressed nearly as warm as I should have been. I walked into Miller's, and immediately 3 or 4 people got up and said, UVA students are not welcome here.
Oh, yeah.
Get the hell out of here now.
Yeah, sure.
And we left.
Well, you get
We
that.
left.
You get that kind of every place you go, right?
We left. No, not now. Not now. The students are
You
welcome
sure about
everywhere.
that? I'm not
Students
talking
are
about you
welcome-
personally.
Oh, now it's like, hey, it's Jerry. What can we get you? It's on the house.
Yeah.
That's what it's like now. My wife enjoys going out.
Yeah, there you go.
Vanessa, so
I got to hang out with you more often. So in '87, 3/4 of the downtown mall was shuttered up, boarded up. There was very few places to go. Right, you could eat at C&O.
Sal's Cafe Italia.
Sal's Cafe was there.
Probably Fellini's was there.
No, well, I don't consider that downtown mall, but actually,
Hamilton's. Was
I hate-
Hamilton's there?
no. I think '80s. I think Fellini's was shut down then.
Was
at that
Chief
point.
running Fellini's then?
I've always remembered Fellini's shut down for like decades. So I'm not sure in '87, '88 it was open, but I may
So
be wrong.
87, 88, you had Sal's Cafe Italia, C&O,
And what is hardware store?
yeah.
And that was pretty much it.
No.
Well, if you wanted to go to Woolworths to get something at the counter,
You
could
had
do-
Timberlake's. Timberlake's drugstore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was where whiskey
When
jars.
did Hamilton's open?
Oh, it was not in the '80s. He just didn't go. He just didn't go downtown. Ice cream. Come on, help me out.
Chaps.
Chaps was there.
Tony
Like,
had Chaps.
Had
Tony
Chap-
bought that building. Interestingly, Tony sold Chaps to an Asian family who's looking to potentially franchise it, but he still owns the building. He's collecting some royalties and some licensing fees, and he's collecting rent as well. But go ahead.
I learned something today.
Tony's a friend.
So
If it's downtown, you'll find few people more on the pulse.
So I was
Network.
what I was anticipating. The question to come up is this type of activity or unpleasantness? I can't think of the word to say at the moment.
Gun, gang, and
Yeah.
drug violence.
Is it going to improve? And you've said this before. Is it going to up the tempo of people looking at HOAs?
HOA neighborhoods. You got some data here. How about this one from Vanessa Parkhill, which is on this topic and it's timely. Queen
Sure.
of Earlysville, Vanessa Parkhill. Happy belated birthday to you,
Happy birthday.
Vanessa Parkhill. You make these shows better. We sincerely appreciate you. Happy birthday. You have a fantastic family. Thank you kindly for all the support you've given of our content on the I Love CVille Network. She has a very timely question. How many homes in 10th and Page are owner occupied? Under current circumstances, would a landlord be more or less likely to sell versus a resident owner? I will say this, and I'm drawing a blank on the gentleman's name. There's one gentleman in the 10th and Page neighborhood that owns 50 plus rental units in 10th and Page alone. Neil, you might be able to help me with his name. I should know his name. I literally was talking about this guy like 3 weeks ago. There's one man in 10th and Page who owns 50 plus single family detached homes in this neighborhood. One person alone. So Vanessa has this question. Are we less likely to see investors put their homes on the market for rent now that we have gun, gang, and drug violence? I would say yes.
You know, that would be a great question to ask Suzanne Reel with Ally Property Management, right? One of our wonderful sponsors of the show, to ask her that. I'm just taking a look at what has closed in 10th and Page, just from a simple perspective 12 months back. Again, what Carr is defining as 10th and Page. So there's 5 homes that sold, 5 days, medium days on market. It was $510,000 was the median sales price. I'm taking a look real closely at who bought them to see if they are LLCs. An LLC would be a clear indication. And at the moment, everyone that I'm looking at was not an LLC. So that's just a simple little snapshot of last 12 months. There was only 5 homes. Again, what Carr is defining as 10th and Page sold. And at the moment, I don't see anything that clearly jumps off at the page that it was an LLC.
What do you make of that?
I think it's, I mean, you're looking at these prices, man, 467, 525, 525, 529, 595. You know, those are upper end numbers, but they're not first time home buyers. And renters and landlords are not spending that kind of money to rent out, right? So it's just not. I don't know the answer to that. I would imagine it's kind of a cash flow analysis if they're good with it or bad with it. That's a great question. I just don't have an answer to it.
Viewers and listeners, thoughts? Lisa Costello, I am a fast reader. We appreciate your comments as well, Lisa Costello. She's the queen of Cherry Avenue, Lisa Costello, watching this program. This is a great question. I don't have an answer to this. You ready for this one?
I am. I'm just trying to see if
it's
I can.
It's from Jonathan. You ready?
So just so that you know, all those units, I have an ability to find out if they were cash or not cash in the system. There was one that was cash. So that was, not sure what that means, but one was cash. Go ahead.
What do you make of this question from Jonathan? Can any of you guys or viewers and listeners explain why you can have someone killing someone in the middle of the day, literally on one street, and then 3 streets over, it's Mayberry, Jerry's term?
Yeah, so that goes.
That's kind of what Keith's been saying.
That's going to my point, right?
Can you explain that? Or do you even want to try to explain that?
It's hard for me to explain because it's kind of was.
He highlights Page and then Rugby Road.
So let's not make it about Charlottesville. We're looking in Richmond for my daughter. 4 or 5 blocks, one way or the other, makes a difference. Here, it's a couple of blocks makes a difference. It's back to my micro markets matter. These couple of blocks, or whatever they may be, makes a difference. That's the reason why I'm a little bit concerned about using the global 10th and Page that we have on it, instead of really looking at dialing it down to a multiple block area.
Because you don't want the entire 10th and Page area to be scarlet lettered.
Well, it's not only that, the numbers aren't going to be right? So if it's 4 blocks over or 3 blocks over, you've got a $500,000 home, and 2 blocks this way, you don't, then that house that's 3 blocks later, I'm just trying to focus on an integrity of numbers.
Yeah.
So if I'm including these 3 or 4 blocks over, but anybody who's lived in a city before, that's the way life is, right? A couple blocks make a difference one way or the other. I don't mean to be flippant about it, but it's a reality. It's the way life is. But that's why I've been pushing back on. We need to define what neighborhood we're talking about. And I literally on the Paragon I can draw a. Hey Judah.
Judah.
What's a geometric shape with a lot of different parallelogram? Yeah, I can draw. Okay, I can draw with a lot of different lines an area that it's not just a square or a round. I can actually outline around a specific area and say, this is the area that I want to search on. So if Jerry says, hey, I want to find a house in these certain blocks of Belmont, I can do that. What's the activity, what's going on, what they've sold for, what's the median sales price, so forth and so on.
Now, the star of our show, Keith Smith's come in with data to support some HOA transactions, some HOA data. The speculation, maybe that's not the right word, the thesis some have presented, yours truly, that the gun, gang, and drug violence may push folks to HOA neighborhoods. And Neil Williamson says, Polygon, I speak Smith.
Thank you, Polygon.
Polygon. You speak Smith.
Thank you, Neil.
Yeah. You give him Polygon?
Was I close?
Yeah.
Well, parallelograms have the parallel size.
Polygon.
It started with a P, didn't it?
Yeah. We'll go Polygon. Polygon. Your thoughts on HOA neighborhoods?
Yeah, so the question on that is gated or non-gated. If you follow your
My thesis is this. My thesis is regardless of gated or non-gated, I think the HOA neighborhood in Charlottesville and Albemarle County has got a lot of momentum because of upzoning in the city of Charlottesville. It's not tied to the gun, gang, and drug
So let's
violence.
put that aside,
It's
right?
more the upzoning.
Okay.
Because the HOA bylaws supersede changing and zoning from a jurisdiction.
So 2 weeks ago, I think I mentioned, hey, I'd really like to tackle this HOA.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, nobody knew we were going to have
Murders. Yeah.
on Saturday when I was trying to work through this. What I wanted to do is see it from a perspective, what had more value, right? Did an HOA or a POA, depending on which language you prefer to use, it's the same thing, homeowners association on it, did we have more value or not? So the city of Charlottesville, this is 2022 numbers, right? These are sold 22 numbers. There was only 57 single-family detached homes sold that were in an HOA versus 356 that was not. So that was an 84% of the homes sold was not. But on the price end of it, they're 36% up. So the homes that were in HOAs commanded $627,000. The ones were not $462. That's $165.
That's a huge delta.
That's $165,000 delta, roughly 36%. Albemarle County, pretty much the same things. Both went up. With was 625 sales, single family detached now. This includes new construction, by the way. I lumped everything in. Without 503, that was a 32% increase on it. Price point, 627 versus 488, on 39% increase. Fluvanna, same thing, up 166%, mostly Lake Monticello. Price point was up only 6%. Greene County, the opposite, and went the other way. We don't have so many HOAs. There were 16% without, but the prices were up in the HOA by 6%. Nelson County, which is a very skewed county because this
of wintergreen.
includes wintergreen, so these numbers are a little
We
bit.
should even keep Nelson County out. Because wintergreen's the HOA is the second home community.
I didn't have enough time to break out different areas, so we'll keep wintergreen out because the HOA was like 72%
Right,
over,
right.
and it's all
That's skewed.
It's all that. Louisa, which would be a good example. We don't talk much about Louisa on the show, and I get a lot of requests to do that.
What, Spring Creek?
Spring Creek. It's interesting though.
Spring Creek's on fire.
It's interesting though. In Louisa, there was 13% without. So it was actually the ones with HOA sold less. on a volume anyway. But the price point, you want to take a guess on what the percentage up if you were in the HOA versus not?
Tell me.
41%.
Ooh.
So they actually win. They're the largest, if we take Nelson out, right? They're the largest increase in value versus HOA versus non of 40.
What's second?
Second would be Albemarle County at 39. Third would be CVille at 36.
If you're in an HOA neighborhood and you own a house right now, the upzoning in the city of Charlottesville and the gang and gun and drug violence in the city of Charlottesville is legitimately driving significant values to your homes. You can't put it any more straightforward than that.
Fulvanner and Green were the same, roughly 6%.
Lisa Costello, advice for the Smith family. I lived in Richmond 8 years. There are pockets of crime scattered throughout Richmond. Yeah. You 110% want your daughter in a safer pocket in that city.
Yeah, so I'm doing the dad thing, and I grew up. I know what a good neighborhood looks like and a bad neighborhood looks like very quickly on it. But yeah, thank you. We're and that's why. I'm sorry, who was the person?
Lisa Costello.
Lisa
lives on Cherry Avenue now.
Thank you. That's why the ones we're looking at have multiple offers. 150 people going through a freaking open house on it. Multiple six figures offers, and you go, and to her point, 6 blocks one way or the other. We're looking around Carytown, right? You go 6 blocks. We're not actually near it. We're 6 blocks away, and we're looking in the Monument area. So we're about a mile and a half away. Easy to get to. You can get to Carytown to do what you want to do, but you're not in Carytown. If you're in Carytown, you're not doing multiple 6 figures over. You're a mile and a half away. You're doing multiple 6 figures over. Micro matters. Micro markets matter. Hiring a trusted advisor that knows the difference is always a good thing.
Keith Smith bringing the fire today. Lonnie Murray for Keith Smith. Yeah, you're on fire, dude. This has been a great show. Lonnie Murray for Keith. I feel like HOAs and gated communities do not make communities necessarily. I've known several instances of crime in gated communities where people kept asking, how did they get in here? And yet when the criminals were caught, they were other people in the community. I think you have to be very careful about this false sense of security these places create. The statistics are also complicated too, because a lot of the crime is in lower income communities. So to really get fair data, you need to compare neighborhoods of similar income to tell whether those HOAs are actually beneficial, Keith.
Yeah, 100% right. Thank you for pointing out. I live at Lake Monticello, and it's a gated community, and we have crime. And not all the time is it people coming in. There's been some, particularly arsons for whatever weird reason over there over the years recently. But they were folks living there. I think they were tenants, and but when you put 4,300 people or homes, 44% of the county in one place, you get what comes with it. So, but you're 100% right. It's a false sense of security. That gate is just a little piece of plastic that you can easily break and go in. Good news, though, is they did upgrade all the camera systems. So if they're driving, they get pictures of the.
Yeah, this is what I mean. I live in one, and I by no means think it's Fort Knox. But what you do have is limited entry points and exit points. And for example, my neighborhood, there's one, and that entry point and exit point, everyone going in and out of the entry and exit point has their car, their face, and their license plate on video camera.
Lake Monticello is a little bit more difficult. There's 5 gates that you can get in. You can get in.
But you guys have your own police force.
We have our own police force.
You can make a legitimate argument that maybe the most safe, because of its own police force, is yours.
Yeah, I guess so. Safe. We have our own.
Because you have your own police force, fire department,
and rescue squad.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No other gated communities in the area have that.
No, that's a unique animal.
That's a unique animal.
Because many decades ago, they were given police powers.
Right. So what's happening in these gated communities, even in the ones that don't have gates per se, for example, Farmington does not have a gate to get in.
So a little Lake Monticello.
But they're still tracking who's going in and out with the camera.
A little Lake Monticello factoid. So everybody watches the show knows I'm a Marine. I also had a federal police license. So when I got out of the Marine Corps and came we moved down to Lake Monticello, I was framing houses during the day, and I was a police officer at night, actually, at Lake Monticello. And most folks don't know that back in the late 80s, in the early 90s, I did it for a few years. Lake Monticello Police Department covered the whole county.
Yeah, you told me that.
During the midnight shift, because I would work the midnight shift. I'd frame all day, work the midnight shift, sleep for a couple hours, go out and work. That's what we did to make the magic happen, to go ahead and do that. And there was a domestic dispute situation where I was by myself and nobody would come to help me, and I decided for $5 an hour, this was not worth it.
$5 an hour?
I was getting paid $5 an hour as a police officer, responding to a domestic dispute with shots fired.
You're like, no way, dude.
No, I rolled in there and fixed it, but after that, I was done with it. I went in and said, "Here you go, guys. Good luck."
Understandably so.
There you go.
Keith Smith on fire on a Monday morning here.
An 870p shotgun fixes a lot of things. So
Yeah. The East Rivanna Fire Department is just inside the Glenmore turnoff from 250 East. That's right, Bill. Wild Bill McChesney, it is there. In fact, the East Rivanna Fire Department is home to food trucks that often come on Thursday evenings out to that side of town.
I did not know that.
So, and there's no question for anyone that's watching or listening, this area has a gang problem. Anyone arguing otherwise is just not in touch with the reality. We will get to the bottom of this violence, though. I do believe in Police Chief Kachis, which I think you do as well.
I do, actually. I sent him a text over the weekend, and I can't promise anything, but I'm trying to actually bring
That'd be great.
him and the chief of the fire department in.
Oh, that'd be great.
And do a conversation about public safety. And do not coming from me or from you, but from them. But obviously, they're very busy people, and trying to coordinate it's been a little difficult.
You were on point.
Oh,
Did
yeah.
you tell?
Look at that, it's 11:30.
You were crushing it.
It's the coffee.
No, you're on point today.
It's the coffee, and I need to.
You got to hit the head.
Got to hit the head.
You never hit the head before the show started.
I did, actually.
Oh, you did?
I cheated.
Oh.
When I went to get I cheated on you, Jerry. When I get the cup of coffee, I hit the head over. I hit the head over there.
Got it.
For those who are watching and listening, one of the first things Jerry tells me when I walk in: hit the head, Smith. Hit the bathroom.
You have less than 9 days with one of your favorite coffee and pie places.
Yeah,
3.14 Pie Day, their last day.
Yeah. So that was interesting when I picked up the. I don't know why people are. I don't know, but I was picking up my cup of coffee, and the young person who was doing a thesis on hearing aids, maybe particularly old dudes that are wearing hearing aids. So anyway, I was running a little late because she wanted to ask me some questions for her thesis.
You tell us about how we can contact you. If you want to buy or sell a house, I hear you help people do that.
Call Yonna.
Keith Smith, literally, guys, would be an incredible ally for you. To
the team.
Yes, Realty Partners, to help you get to closing, buying and selling a house. I've seen the guy move mountains for people, and I've seen folks sing his praises during the process and post-process. If you need someone to help you buy or sell a house, Keith Smith of Yes Realty Partners, can't recommend him enough.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I don't take flattery well, so thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, you crushed it today.
Yeah, I just had fun. I love Batman and Robin.
Wednesday show.
So I think Scott is going to join us, which is great. Friday is at the moment open.
Okay.
So it might be more Batman and Robin on
love
Friday. If I get lucky and can get the two people we were talking about.
Lucky.
But I seriously doubt it, but we're working on trying to get it done. So
Okay.
Worst case scenario, we'll do Batman and Robin. We'll get dressed up in something sillier.
I love it. Keith Smith, Yes Realty Partners. Judah Wickhauer back in the mix, looking like a 25-year-old man over here. You'll see Judah Wickhauer's 25-year-old mug on the I Love CVille show, which is up in less than an hour. Thank you kindly for joining us. We hope you enjoy the content like we do. Real Talk with Keith Smith is archived at realtalkwithkeithsmith.com and presented by Yes Realty Partners. Thank you kindly for joining us. Keith, good job.
Thank you, sir.
It was awesome.
I just follow you, my friend.
You were on point today.
It's the coffee. Totally the coffee.